business next to mine. Say I didn't tell you so. You better pack your things and go. You've been so long, you seen the back door. Can't you see I got your eyes? Let me warn you, hear me, man. Don't be your business next to mine. Selling me your hot stuff, but you wouldn't give a dime. Let me warn you, hear me now. Don't be your business next to mine. For the meanest man in town.
Hello guys, what's up? So it's Sunday and I'll be analyzing the last game of the league, my game. I know the US Championship is being played last round, Anywang and Sam Shanlang playing for the win, to win the tournament. So I'm looking at that also, and I guess you also are. Yeah, now it's the time I I can do this. So I'm going to look at my yesterday's game. I have to say that we won our last match. We didn't win by the margin. Well, we didn't win with the score we needed to ensure the championship, but our rivals didn't win also. So in the result, the outcome is that we won the league, but we were a little bit lucky, I have to say that. So we won the league. We are in first place, and I won my game. So I'm gonna show that one. But the whole match was very, very tough, very difficult actually. So let me go back to the beginning of the game. So to put some context, we needed to go for the win in all of the boards. So I was white against Javier Otero. Really decent opponent, really tough one, until the moment he collapsed. But okay, I played white, so good evening, Deep Wolverine. So I started with e4 as usual in my games. I didn't know my opponent, so I couldn't prepare anything. So I played for e4, my usual repertoire, and my opponent played c5. So the only thing I knew about this team is most of them usually play this Sicilian defense, and some of them also play the Petrov. So I didn't prepare in depth, but I sort of expected this. As you can see here in the evaluation by the engine, my opponent made 4 inaccuracies and 6 mistakes, no blunders, and I made 2 inaccuracies, no mistakes, no blunders. I disagree with this. I think I played not so great, and I think my opponent probably made 1 blunder. I think the final mistake is, I consider it a blunder. It was like, you know, losing. But okay, we'll get there. So e4 c5, and I played the Alaping, which is part of my solid repertoire, and I needed a solid game because since the 4 of us, needed to win, and I was white, I went for a solid approach, trying to get just a pleasant game and have the options opened to take committing decisions later in the game, depending on the other boards. But I actually didn't play that great according to plan. So my opponent played e6 here. Okay, this is the first important moment in the game because I'm already more or less out of book. Of course, the main lines are d5 and knight f6. So e6, I guess it allows d4, so I played d4. And I sort of play this a lot in Bullet. So for one moment I thought, okay, he might have prepared this because, you know, I played this hundreds of times online in Bullet, and whenever they play d5 here, I usually play d takes c5 in Bullet. But actually I think I never studied this line, so over the board I was trying to understand this position and say, okay, what are my options here? Because I usually play d takes c5 in Bullet, but I'm not sure if that's great or not. And yeah, basically my 2 other alternatives here are taking on d5 first and playing e5. I think those were my alternatives here. Okay, e5 sort of transposes to a French, not a big deal. An ed, I think he can try not to play with the isolated pawn just by taking with the queen, and I didn't see anything great in here. I think we transposed to the variation with d5, so maybe I should have gone here, because in the main line with d5, after takes, you play d4, and I really love when my opponents play e6 here. I mean, if you kill your own bishop, that's not the best move, e6 here. So in a way, I think after e6, d4, d5, I should probably have taken here, and after takes, just play, you know, we're transposing into a better version of the main line, so I will continue with bishop e3 or something. I should have gone for this, but I can't remember what did I see here, and I went for my d takes c5 approach, which I usually play in Bullet, thinking, okay, I should be fine there because I'm used to that. Okay, one point of taking here is that if he takes the pawn here, of course I trade queens, and then with bishop e3 I get to have one extra pawn for the time being, so black cannot do that. But of course black can take on c5 with the bishop. And okay, here another important moment arises, because I can do any move here. I mean, like d takes e4 is not a threat because I can always regain the pawn with this check over here, so I can, for example, play knight f3 or other developing moves. but I was considering the option to play against the isolated pawn. E takes d5 and play against the isolated pawn. And I did calculate for some time here. Let me see. I used like 7 minutes here. And I finally took a not so great decision, I think. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it was the best. Okay, in this game the time management from my part is not it's affected by other factors. Like I was watching the 4 games at the same time because of the match situation. So yeah, maybe it wasn't 7 minutes this one, but maybe 5 or so. Anyway, I decided to take, and my idea was, okay, if he takes with the pawn, I will play against the isolated pawn, and if he plays with the queen, I'm gonna trade queens and play against the isolated pawn. My problem was, it wasn't as easy as it seemed to block this pawn. So I played this, and I tried to block. And we should remember that I'm forced to win this game. So yeah, trading queens in the move number 6 is well, it's arguably a way to go for the win, but also arguably cutting some chances for me. So my goal is to play a long game, but I'm already trading queens, so yeah, I don't know. But okay, anyway, all the rest of the pieces are still over the board. But now all my concern is about blocking this pawn on d5 to make it weak on an endgame. And it's not a comfortable situation for me, because on one hand, if I want to play against the isolated pawn, my strategy should be to trade pieces. On the other hand, I want to win the game, so I have to be careful about trading pieces so massively. So yeah, it was a little bit tense for me. Knight f3, knight f6. Okay, my point with knight f3 is if he tries to play something like bishop g4, I think I have a check on b5 and then knight e5, or even knight e5 first here, and then this check is a little bit annoying. So yeah, I was never scared of the bishop g4 to try to play against my control over the d4 square. So knight f6, normal move. And now I really wanted to do knight d2, knight b3, but I wasn't in time. Because if I play knight here, he castles, and I play here, then this check, he's in time to do this check, and this is a little bit annoying. Because now, for example, let's say bishop f2, he moves the bishop, and I cannot castle because of this bishop hanging, and I cannot move here because of this pawn hanging. So I will probably have to go like king f1 or something, and yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. So I calculated some lines with knight d4 here, but I cannot remember. I think the problem was knight c6, immediately questioning that blockade, and then bishop d3, bishop e3. I think I had some issues with knight e4. I can't remember. It was yesterday, but yeah. I don't know. I wasn't really sure about how to evaluate these lines, and then I decided just to castle short and then try to keep playing. So I won the tempo with the check, and after knight c6, which I think is the best move, because if he puts a knight on d7, for example this, then he's not fighting for the d4 square anymore, and then I can probably go with this plan very easily, because so far the advance is controlled with 2. So for example, let's say something like this, then castles first, so that he has no more checks, and knight b3 next, and the knight would love to be on c6 helping. So, okay, that was for knight d7. And if bishop d7, I was going to take. The idea being that if knight takes d7, then he has the same problem with the knight. And I actually, I'm comfortable trading bishops, trading pieces in general, if I'm able to blockade the pawn. So okay, that was why I think knight c6 was the best, and he did it. And now I castled, I think. Yep, I castled. And GTR has followed. Thank you, buddy. I don't know if that information you have about Carlsen is true or not. I think he's in love with Sam Larsen. Anyway, my opponent castled. So far, position is so equal, and that's something that worries me a little, because I need to win this game. And now I miscalculated, but I played a good move. Okay, I played a normal move, like I need to develop somehow. So I played bishop g5, but the reason to play this move was a miscalculation, as it's usually me lately. And my idea was, in this position, what does my opponent want to do? Well, in general, he wants to play d4 and get rid of the isolated pawn. And I cannot prevent that. Maybe I can play rook d1, but then knight g4, the f2 pawn is weak, so I don't want any of this. I just need to develop, forget about this pawn, and I don't know, find my chances somewhere else. And another thing I think he wants to do is to play a6 to bother this bishop here. That, you know, because my bishop does not want to take on c6 in general, because okay, giving up a bishop for a knight, like giving up the bishop pair, and also helping his isolated pawn to be defended, I don't want to do that. So I thought a6 was one of the most concerning moves, concerning for white. And my move bishop g5 was to fight against that idea of a6. And my idea was, now if he plays a6, I trade here. Hey Deep Wolverine, thank you for the follow. Hey Clash Kid, what's up? ¿Qué tal? Yeah, ¿qué tal? Bien. I'm fine, and you? Okay, so now my idea was, okay, now if he plays a6, which he didn't, I will take here, then I will threaten the c6 pawn, then because of the knight attacking here, he cannot defend with the bishop, because if bishop here I take on f6 and then our bishop is hanging on d7, so he has to defend like this, and then I take here, and then I have this beautiful fork. That was all my calculation. But it was a miscalculation, because he has, for example, in here after 95, he can already go like this, for example. And then, and then I'm not good. And I think he has some other move. No, I think that's basically it. After bishop takes c6, pawn takes c6, 95, he has 94. And yeah, then he wins a tempo. I cannot take here, of course. So after I move, if he does like this, for example, and I go for the fork, then his bishop is defended. At least. Maybe at some point he also has some g5 ideas. I mean, the fact is, my line didn't work, my idea. But okay, I guess I would probably calculate it better if he had played a6 here, which he didn't. So he played a very decent move, actually probably the best, instead of a6. Yes, he played 94 immediately, which is a nice move. attacks my bishop, just asking, man, what are you doing with your bishop there? So I basically consider two options here, bishop f4 or bishop h4. I think bishop c1 is not an option, unless I consider my position is bad. So I played bishop f4 with the idea that here is a little bit more active, supporting the knight e5 jump. And I thought I sort of had the same trick here against a6, but I don't. So he played a6, and now I realized I couldn't go for the bishop takes a6 idea, bishop takes c6 idea. So I didn't play bishop takes c6, but the idea is the same. Now after knight e5, threatening this, protecting d7, so if he goes here I have this fork. Okay, that would be beautiful. But of course here he has this move, and then this is bad for me. This is really bad for me. So I didn't take on c6. Actually, I calculated it, well, at this position. When I played bishop f4, I saw all that. So I calculated the best reply against a6, and I did it immediately, bishop a4. And basically the idea is the bishop is no longer doing a good job here, because I don't want to take on c6. It was good in the opening to win the tempo and castle, but now the bishop has to be rerouted. And I want to put it even, either here on b3, to play against this d5 pawn, like for example b5, bishop b3, already hinting at that, or maybe to c2 to fight against the idea of d4 now that this knight is on e4. So those are my two ideas for the bishop. My opponent saw that this pawn was unprotected and maybe was a little bit scared of this bishop b3, rook d1 ideas, and he played bishop e6, which is a normal move. And what did I do here? Okay, I played immediately bishop to c2, preventing the push d4. So my opponent has a very decent position, I think. Position is around equal, but I actually like black. It's a little bit more active, a little bit more space, and well coordinated. The only thing is that he has the isolated pawn, which sometimes is good, sometimes it can be very bad. Now it seems to be good because he still has a lot of pieces. So okay, rook f e8, very natural moves. And now I decided it was time to do something about this undeveloped pieces over here, and I played knight bd2. Well, actually threatening to take a pawn here. After bishop e6, maybe knight g5. Yeah, that's a good point. The problem is okay, there's no problem, but otherwise, how did you get rid of his knight on e4? We'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, I considered knight g5, but I discarded it. What I didn't like of knight g5 is he can basically do nothing here. Like, just continue development. Rook here, h6, rook here, and any move. Because I don't really want to take on e4 and fix his structure. Let's say h6 takes. And now this pawn can be defended easier than on d5 when it's isolated. And I don't really want to take on e6 because that's his worst bishop, and I also fix his structure. Okay, maybe I would go for this anyway. If I don't find anything better, maybe I would go for these 3 islands setup. But still, I think black is perfectly fine here, already activating his f rook. So yeah, knight g5, I didn't fancy it. I just decided to play against his more direct idea of playing d4. So I played against the d4 idea. Okay, after rook here, I played knight bd2, threatening to take a pawn here and inviting him to play a move like f5, when then maybe at some point after removing this, I would go knight g5 and be a little bit more annoying. For example, let's say f5, maybe takes here, I'm not sure, and some... I don't like this, I don't like this, but maybe with some preparation. But at least f5, it would be nice for me if he weakens his king. Actually, he did it later in the game, when he was not forced at all. Also, this odd idea to remove this knight over here, but it implies to remove first this bishop. So let's say I bring a rook here and I play bishop e3, the idea being to unpin this f-pawn. Then later in the future I can go f3, f2 to f3. Like move this knight out of here, play f3. So as long as I have an f-pawn on f2, this knight is not going to be there forever. I just need to maneuver a lot to remove it. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying, that knight there. Anyway, when I played knight bd2, my opponent was okay. So the strategy for the match, we needed to win. We needed to do 3.5 points out of 4. We needed to win all the games and at most draw one game. So our opponents basically wanted to make 1 point. So I think my opponent, since he was playing black actually, I think he was playing for the draw. And in this moment, I think it was a little bit clear. Because previously, okay, queen takes d5, trading queens, etc. Okay, that's understandable when you play black. But here he went for the immediate simplification, knight takes d2, which, well, I think it's okay, but probably even better than weakening, but I don't know. I was relieved to see this, because after knight takes d2, knight takes d2, then I start liking my position. It's not great, let's be honest. But now I think I have something to play for, and after the push d4 I will have the e4 square. Still the position is totally fine for black anyway, but I don't know. It felt easier now after this trade. Because if he does not trade, I have like a lot of knights that that have no plan, basically. Okay, anyway, after this he played rook a8, and of course black's position is totally healthy anyway, but at least now I know more or less what am I going to do. So first I played h3, a little bit of prophylaxis, not the best move, I understand, but yeah, I didn't want to take risks in this game, and I had calculated more or less what happens after d4 now. That's what my opponent did, was more or less the obvious move, and that's why I played h3. So he played d4. There are other moves like h6, he can play prophylactical as well. Okay, d4, knight e4, and here he played what I think it's a good move, bishop to e7, probably the best move. So here we should know that d3 doesn't work because I take, and then of course I won a pawn, and so he has to move the bishop, and he has several options, but bishop e7 I think it's the solid one, the safest. So bishop e7 was played, and now this was an interesting moment, because I understand I'm a little bit behind in development, because, you know, he's very well coordinated. It's hard to improve his pieces, but look at these pieces over here. Actually, this should be green pieces, and my rooks are, yeah, not in greatest shape. So I don't want to start doing crazy stuff like trades immediately or take here or anything. Actually, I don't really want to take on d4, never ever. I don't want his knight there. I want to keep a pawn on c3. And if he takes, I want to take back with the pawn to keep a pawn on c3, controlling these important squares over here. So the only concern is what happens after d3, I think, if I don't take on d4. So I played rook fe1, and he didn't push d3. I can't remember very well what did I calculate, but my intention was to just step out, maybe trade some more pieces. I have a nice blockade on d2 in me already, and I think on the long run, if I remove this bishop immediately now, it's going to be very hard for him to defend that pawn. And yeah, I will bring the rooks, maneuver this knight that can attack it, maybe the king as well. I think that's probably a dead pawn in there. But he made a move that I was very critical about after the game. I think I would play here. I told him I would play h6 here, or g6, or any move. Well, maybe not g6, but h6. Or the other plan I think is good for black is just rook d7 and double rooks. And my point is, white never wants to take on d4. So you keep this here and you continue improving your pieces. Instead, my opponent decided to take on c3 immediately, and I think that helps me a lot, because, okay, now I got rid of that problem forever. Okay, still, I would have preferred to have the isolated pawn blockaded before, but okay, it couldn't be. But at least I think here he can continue improving his pieces, something like rook d7, because I don't want to take on d4. I need to figure out a way to do something. Anyway, he took, so I took with the pawn, of course. I want to keep control over these squares. And okay, now my structure is not the best compared to this, but my point is I will have some activity in return. So d takes c3, b takes c, and here it came his first big mistake of the game, I think. My opponent claimed that this was the losing move. Well, I think the losing move came after this, but of course, if you see here the evaluation by the engine, from this point on, all the game is in white's favor. So yeah, I agree with him that this was a very bad move in this position. So in this position, what to play? Again, rook d7, double rooks, again h6, some luft, control g5, any move, any just slowly improving move. I think I would probably go for rook d7, try to fight for the file. Bishop d5, I don't know. I think bishop f5 might have some knight f6 check problems, but also a move to consider. But my opponent played a very, very bad move because he miscalculated. He played f5. And okay, I was relieved when I saw f5 on the board, because I thought, okay, finally, I have something that seems like an advantage for me. Okay, f5 is a weakening move. It basically weakens the king on one side, and it also weakens this bishop that is no longer defended. So there are like two obvious replies to this move. One is this, and the other is this one. I think both of them are good, but I chose knight g5 because it was easier to calculate for me. His idea with f5 is, okay, he moves the knight out, I will play bishop f6, attacking this pawn on c3. That should be great for black, right? The problem is after knight g5. Okay, let's see first the line I didn't play, knight g3. If he tries that, well, I have several ideas here. What to do? I think I can even take on f5. Okay, I will take on f5 at some point, but maybe I can even defend this first. Or I also have some ideas like rook takes h6, followed by bishop here. Yeah, a lot of ideas. But in the knight g5 line that I played is even most forcing, because now he cannot play here, because he loses the bishop on e6. The bishop is attacked. So bishop f6 is no longer an option, and he played f5 basically to have bishop f6. So I play knight g5, and I'm basically forcing him to take on g5 and give the bishop pair up. And yeah, since he only played f5 to play bishop f6 and attack c3, if he has to give the bishop or the dark square bishop, then of course f5 is really bad move. Yeah, I wasn't sure. He didn't play bishop f6. I wasn't sure here if I had to take with the knight or the rook. I thought with the rook, but I'm not sure. Something like this, because after this I have the check and then I take on g5. So after this, I guess I can check and move the rook. Yeah, I will be material up anyway. But I wasn't sure, because maybe this is also good. It's a little bit harder to calculate. But okay. He didn't want to lose material, so he took on g5. And now I took. And now I have the bishop pair in an open position, and his king is a little bit weak because of f5. So I have some advantages. I have some disadvantages as well, like this pawn structure on the queen side, and also a lot of chances to simplify the position, because he has very, very good pieces. His pieces are more or less well coordinated, although now, after the trade of dark square bishop, his bishop is not so great regarding his structure anyway. Okay, now his rook is attacked, so he stepped out. I think he did great there, because the d file is never an option for him. I have a lot of control over all the squares here. So he stepped out to start trying to build some pressure on my weakness, which is c3. So that was good. My weakness so far is controlling his knight, but it's not so easy to defend, right? Maybe I need some maneuver to defend this. I mean, I don't want to play bishop d2. The bishop would be easy to target there. And to play something like rook c1, I need to first solve what to do with the a pawn that is maybe hanging. Rook e3 maybe traps my bishop on g5. Okay, this weakness over here is a concern. But now in this position, I played what I thought it was a good move, but it's one of the, according to the engine, one of my two inaccuracies. I played rook to e3. It's not a bad move. It's not a bad move. Actually, I saw what happened next in the game. I calculated a lot this move. How many time did I spend on this move? I calculated more or less deeply here, and I used 5 minutes. I used 5 minutes for this one. And the idea of rook e3 is, in some lines, after targeting b7, he plays b5, I play a4, he plays b4 because he has some tricks with knight here, then I have a rook g3, so we'll get there. But yeah, the idea is not only to defend here, the idea is to play some rook g3 at some point, and threatening bishop moves there that are annoying for him. But I think the computer says this is an inaccuracy because the computer says there's a better move, a tactical shot, that I didn't really want to play. I saw it, but I didn't really want to go here. The computer says, rook takes, come on, this is great. This is great. You take a pawn, you regain your exchange. I don't know. I just didn't believe it. I saw this, but I consider I will get rid of the bishop pair next move. So let's continue the line, for example, here, 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 and now it's my turn. So okay, I understand this is advantage for white. I'm a pawn up. I have bishop versus knight, but only one rook. So I cannot. I mean, it's a technical endgame. I should be winning, but not the best 3 versus 2 to win. And actually, I don't like my structure here. So I'm in this type of endgames when I have so many weaknesses. I really think in the power of the rooks, and I really think this rook is going to have enough counterplay. But if I don't trade any of those, like I didn't, I think with 2 rooks you can build a strong attack. And it's not that I rejected this idea, it's that I thought, okay, maybe I can do better first if I find a way to activate a lot my rooks, maybe get them to the 7th rank. And I thought I found a way. And that's why I didn't choose rook takes e6. So let's continue the line and we'll see what did I find and why it wasn't good, although my opponent played badly, so it was good in the end. So rook e3, and after h6, which was logical because, as I mentioned before, rook e3 traps a little my bishop here. Then bishop f4, basically only move because if bishop here g5, I cannot play bishop g3 because of f4, so I have to play this, and he basically steps out with the king, and then my bishop is lost. I can still take 2 pawns for it, but yeah, that's no good. So bishop f4 forced, and now he played bishop d7, which is a bad move. According to the engine prefers king f7, and I thought I would go g5, because then bishop here is more or less forced, and then at some point I would probably have to play the bishop to a3, and I didn't like this, and also f4 is an idea. And yeah, actually even better with the other rook. So after this and this, he's gonna unravel an attack here, and yeah, white starts to, oh no, e6 is hanging, so not that rook. Okay, so maybe this first. I don't know, I didn't like this type of g5 f4 ideas, but he didn't go for that. He went for the trades. I don't blame him because he was playing for the draw, but I continued with my idea here, and I played rook d3, and again I had a better move, but it was hard to see. The computer says immediately, oh, you had a win here. You had bishop b3 check, then the king moves, and what was the win? Ah yes, rook d1. And this is annoying because he cannot easily defend because of these rooks threatening each other, so he has to trade first here, and after bishop e3 he has to move the bishop, but now this bishop is great controlling e6. So this bishop has not a lot of squares, so he has to play bishop here and then bishop here, and now this is really annoying. And there are some lines with rook here and then in the end bishop c8 winning some pawns, or this line that the computer says now of rook c7 giving up immediately the pawn on f5 with check, and this is great for white. I didn't see this. It was out of my calculations, and I guess of my opponents also. So I played rook d3. Again, I wanted to keep as many rooks as possible to try to build an attack with my bishop pair in this open position. And I also played rook d3 because I calculated and I thought the best move for him is to go back to e6. So it's basically like winning a tempo. Like, I'm not going to go back to e3, so I have time to improve over the last position. And actually I think that's the best move, to go back, and he did it. Because defending was a bit complicated. Defending the bishop, I mean. Yeah, the bishop is much better on e6, attacking this and defending, controlling this diagonal. So now I played rook b1 immediately. So I think this is the first time in the game I started to play for the win. Actually, so far it was like, yeah, trying to survive, trying to keep options opened, but now I'm starting to play active. So if he takes on a2, he didn't take, but if he takes, then I will go very active, and rook g3 is coming, and yeah, it's not so easy. Maybe he has some rook e7 resources still, but complicated, and the a6 pawn is not so great. So he avoided that and played b5, but I had calculated this and I played a4 immediately, with the idea that, well, I'm threatening to take a pawn here, and if he takes it, I will have the rook b7 idea again. And if he goes b4, which I thought he was going to go for it, and he did, the trick is, if I take, he takes, and if I take the knight, my bishop is hanging on c2. That's the trick by black. But then I had Zwischenschub here prepared, that I calculated before when I played rook e3 to d3, and that's rook to g3. And I think this was a good move. I'm threatening bishop takes h6. So for example, if he takes here, I will take here, then g7 is falling, and I mean, I don't mind trading this pawn on c3 for a pawn in front of his king. If I'm starting to activate all of my pieces, rook b7 is coming also. So according to the engine, the best move was b3 here. I have to say, I considered pawn to b3, but I wasn't scared of it. I think I can just take it, or I can just step out and the pressure continues. But my opponent decided to just step out of the pin, and now I went for this forcing line, c takes b. Knight takes, and now very importantly, rook takes. And yeah, it seems a bit counterintuitive maybe, because when I calculated it the first time, I thought, oh, I can win a pawn. Like, I take here, he takes here, and I take here. But then, so I'm a pawn up here, okay, that's nice, right? But then I thought, if he forces me to trade rooks here, a pair of rooks, then it's gonna be a opposite color bishop's endgame with not a lot of pawns on the board. So even though I'm a little bit active, he's gonna be also. I don't know. I wasn't sure about being able to win this. Yeah. Of course I can put pressure, but yeah, I think, for example, after rook g8, Black is going to be passive for some moves because he has to defend this, but then after king h7, let's say bishop g6 for example, he can already move the rook out and start being active himself, and I have weaknesses myself. So yeah, with only one pair of rooks over the board, I wasn't sure to be able to push for the win. But I thought this was much better, not to take the pawn, and I did it, with the idea to play rook b7 here and attack. And I didn't play rook b7 here, because I found something better. But my first calculation was, okay, now rook b7, and if he wants to defend g7, he has to go like here, and then I put more pressure. He can basically not defend it, and he's also pinned, and I have a big threat of rook g6. For example, let's say he wants to collect some pawns. Then I will go rook g6, threatening the bishop, and if the bishop moves, this is checkmate. So here he has to be very careful about that threat, and also I'm taking on g7 anyway because I have 3 attackers and he has 2 defenders. So I thought rook b7 was great. But yeah, after this, and this... Well, first, I think he can find some... Ah, yeah, now I remember. I think here, instead of the passive rook g8, he has g5, which seems a little bit scary for him, but it might be his best option. And then after bishop check, king here, I wasn't sure, maybe f4, maybe h4, maybe rook g7. I still feel white's better, but still a lot of complexity and a lot of things can happen here. And he sort of survived, he got the king out of the corner. So that's why when I reached this point I thought, oh, but what if instead of rook b7 I start with bishop e5? And I did it. And my idea was, now he cannot play g5 because he's pinned. So now if he goes rook g8, I can go to this position in a forced way, stepping out of the g5 line. And then when I played, right immediately after I played bishop e5, I realized, oh, but now he can go rook e7. Of course he went rook e7, which is the best defense here. And then I was regretting to have played bishop e5 instead of rook b7. It turns out that bishop e5 is better than the other, but in the game I wasn't so sure about it, because now this rook is really nice preventing rook b7 and defending g7, so I have to find another ideas. But of course my position is great. I mean, this is so active, this is so pinned, and yeah, rook g6 is going to be nasty. So in this position I found a way to put more pressure, and I played rook to b6, and I'm basically threatening to take here, and I'm threatening some tricks like bishop g7. For example, let's say he does a stupid move, which is hard to do, but okay, let's say he does. This is the most stupid move we can do, right? I'm threatening things like check and takes here, or maybe trade first on g7, because now I really like my chances on the end. No, why allowing him to defend h6? No, without trading this. So yeah, that would be great for me. So yeah, bishop g7 is sort of a threat. My opponent told me that he was scared of rook takes e6, but I think it does not work. Just giving up an exchange. And he went for a bad move here. I think the best is to just move the bishop out. And then I guess I will take here, and after king here, I was going to take on a6, I think. Computer says f4. Oh, the bishop is hanging. Yes, f4 first. Sorry. f4 first. Yeah, now the problem is he has this type of trickery. Not quite, because then I take here. Yes, he has this type of trickery, and I might be able to push this for a win, but it's even, it's getting more and more drawish. So yeah, bishop d5 was definitely putting more difficulties for me to convert. And I thought also a5. Yeah, after a5 I was going to play rook g6 basically to win a pawn. But anyway, he played rook e2. And okay, now I played a4 because I want to play that move anyway. And now he didn't play a5, which I think it was the best move. And my idea was to play rook g6 to threaten both the bishop and the pawn h6 just to win a pawn. The idea being after here takes here, I have to go back to defend here, but it's not a problem. I can push this. For some reason I still wasn't sure about this, being able to win this, but then after the game we saw this is totally winning for white. I mean, totally pleasant at least, because worst case scenario, black can never attack. Like, black can never incorporate this rook to the attack. So white is totally fine, totally active, and h4, h5, h6 is a really, really decent plan to use the extra pawn to generate more attack. So yeah, this rook g6 was my idea against a5, but he made the final mistake, what I would call a blunder. I don't know why the engine says this is a mistake, not a blunder. Evaluation goes from 1.5 to +4. He decided to give up the exchange here. And I don't know. When I saw this move over the board, I thought, okay, finally I won the game. I was relieved because we were doing really bad in the match. We lost one game in the beginning of the match. And then the other three, like you saw my game, I was not sure of being able to win, and my two other teammates, they were in bad shape actually in their games. In the end we managed to win the three of the games, but it was very lucky. So I was very relieved when my opponent did this. He collapsed, basically he collapsed. It was okay. He had 2 minutes left in the clock. That has to be mentioned. He had 2 minutes left, and I had 26 minutes left. So, okay, in time travel, he collapsed. He told me that he was really, really scared of my attack to the bishop, but I didn't find anything better than rook g6, as I mentioned, which was probably good enough. Anyway, the rest of the game does not deserve a lot of attention, but I will show you because I've shown all the moves of all the games in the chess league, so we can go through it. So I took it, of course, and now bishop here, defending the pawn and attacking the other pawn. Rook c3, winning that tempo. Bishop. Oh, I have a typo here. It says bishop c2. Bishop from c4 to c2. Nice. Bishop c2. Oh, the computer wouldn't allow me. Where do I have a pen? It's bishop to e2. Bishop e2. And now, okay, if king f2, rook defends the bishop, so I played e6 first. a5, saving the pawn. The pawn was defended, but okay, he knows he's gonna have to stop defending it. So a5, king f2, bishop d1 attacking my pawn. Just defend because the bishop has no squares to keep attacking the pawn when I play king e1. So rook c4, king h7, king e1, bishop h5. Rook c5, attacking 2 pawns. Now a terrible move, but okay, he was already lost. Best move is what? Okay, you know, computer stuff. When you are on +6, computer says best move is f4, hanging the bishop on h5. Anyway, my opponent played a human move, bishop f7, a human losing move, and rook takes f5, bishop takes and rook e5, and he resigned. And that was it. That was my last game in this chess league. All in all, I made a good chess league. From at least from the results point of view, I think the quality of the games was not the best. But okay, we won the league and I'm too happy. We are the champions. I have, let me see if I can show this. Yeah, these are the results of my team. This is me. I'm number 2 in my team. And this was my chess league. I did 9 out of 10. I won 9 games and lost 1. My teammate number 1, he made 6 out of 8, and my teammate number 4, which although he played in board number 3 most of the league, he made an incredible 9.5 out of 10. He was very crucial for our win, and we also have some other good players as well making good scores for the rest of the league. So we're the champions. Anyway, I think I'm going to celebrate with some chill only chess, some games, some tournaments or something. But first I'm going to do a small break. And yeah, actually I think I will do a not so small break. I will have a look at the end of the US round. I think Shankland is already winning, and both anyone and Nazi are in equalish positions. So I'll have a look at the rest of the round of the US Championship, and then I will stream again with some games or something. That's it for the game analysis. See you later.